What's up, everybody? Deep Sky Dan here, coming back at you. This is the next installment of my Widefield series, and in this video I'm going to show you guys exactly how I image and process the Orion Nebula M42. I'm really excited to show you guys this. I've got the SVBONY SV503 70 ED doublet refractor going right here. I'm in a new area, kind of a raised area, away from all the houses and away from all the mountains. I don't have really any lights here where I am. There are some houses around me, but it's relatively dark. I'm kind of higher up on a path area, and I've got the gear running right now. I'm getting some data, and I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about what I'm doing here. If you saw my Andromeda video, it's the exact same gear. Nothing has changed whatsoever, except I'm using 0 filters on this nebula. I want to see what I can do without any filters. And really the plan is to image in 2 image sets. I'm going to do 1 image set for the core and 1 for the rest of the surrounding areas to bring out those faint details. Basically, for the core, I'm going to do about 3-second exposures at the same ISO. I always do 800, and then I'm going to do another image set, 30-second exposures at ISO 800 for all those surrounding areas and gassy areas and everything else to pick up the faint details. And then I'm going to take those and put them in Photoshop and blend them together and kind of create an HDR image and blend in that core so it's not blown out. That's the last thing that I want to do. Now, this is something really anybody can do in Photoshop. It's super easy to do, and later I'll show you guys how to do that. But for now, I'm inside my car because it is freezing outside, and I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about what I'm doing. And I'm going to show you the rig going over here and exactly what's going on, and you can see what's happening. So let me take you guys outside and show you everything. All right, guys, here is my setup. It is running right now. As you can see, I've got M42 centered in there, and I am getting that data, and the SVBONY 70 is pointing at Orion Nebula. This is awesome. I wish I could show you guys on camera here exactly what it looks like, but I can't pick up those details. But you can see it in the preview screen. It is in there behind those 2 bars. You really can't see it, but this is definitely my gear here. Same exact gear that I was using for Andromeda, and like I said, nothing has changed. This is everything. It is running, and yes, it is freezing cold out here. Oh my gosh, man, I can't tell you guys how cold I am right now. Luckily, I've got multiple layers on. So all right, well, I'm gonna let this run. All right, it's time to get to processing. This is one of my favorite parts, and where I really like to show some of the things that I do on my DSOs, and I'm going to show you guys in the laptop here in Photoshop how I process M42. Let's get started. Now on my screen here, this is M42. This is one of my buddy's M42 from a dedicated ASTRO camera. It just shows you what you can get with a real camera, and how amazing the images are. But today I'm going to show you how to process your M42 smartphone data. So let's get going. I've got Photoshop open here, and you can see in Photoshop here is one of my stacks out of Deep Sky Stacker. This is the autosave, and let's just zoom in and I'll show you what's going on in here. Now here is M42 in here. Plenty of data, but with a blown out core. With a blown out core. But we're going to remedy that, don't worry. Now looking up here, here is the Running Man Nebula. Now again, this is 30 seconds at ISO 400. And it does have a blown out core, but that's okay. This is about 3 hours of data in total. That's a really good amount to get a nice image, at least I think so. So let me show you my other stack over here. This is a 3-second at ISO 400 stack. This is about 1,000 images. Not really enough, but enough to get what we need for the core. And let me zoom in and just show you what that looks like. Now you can start to see here's the trapezium. That's what we want. We want to get this background area here in the trapezium. That is what is important. Now you're going to have to process both of these. It's important to process both of these similar. And let me just show you this one. So this is my stack, my autosave stack at a DSS. Now I've done a little bit of processing over here, and you can see what I've got. Now all I did was I just cropped in on what I wanted. I went ahead and did arc sign levels. I didn't want to stretch out the stars too much, so I used the arc sign curves and levels here, and you can see the difference just doing that. And then I did a noise exterminator. Highly recommend noise exterminator. It is awesome. I use it in all my images, and you will love it. It's a lifesaver. And then I did a little bit of an unsharp mask just to try to sharpen things up a touch. And then I did a kind of a raw camera white balance up here in raw camera, just to white balance it out and make it look a little more natural. And then I did a little bit of brightness in here, just to brighten the area up a little bit. Now this is up to you what you want to do processing wise. You don't have to do like I did, it's up to you, but this is just gives you a general idea. All I really want is this core area in here. That's what I'm looking for. Now let's come over to the main image set, and I've cropped in the area that I want to use here. And then, so this is my cropped in area. Now I went ahead and used Gradient Exterminator here, and let me show you what Gradient Exterminator does. Using that, it really balances everything out and takes out a lot of those gradients in your image. I can't recommend this enough as well. Gradient Exterminator, Noise Exterminator, two of the best tools you can ever have in your arsenal for image processing. They're lifesavers. Now, for the sake of this video, I just did a quick stretch. I use an arc sign stretch, and basically the arc sign stretches will stretch the data, but not the stars so much, so you don't get the super blown out stars. And I did a really big arc sign stretch here, arc sign 1000, which is really big. Usually I do small increments of 10 or 30 with the arc sign stretches, but I wanted to show you guys what happens when you use one of these. Boom, look at that. That's an arc sign, and we can really see that it's brought out the nebula, both nebulas, quite a bit here. Turning that off and on. Now I've gone up to next, I've done kind of a level stretch. I used the levels and did a stretch, 1.50 stretch, and let me show you what that did. That really brightened everything up, and we can start to see a lot more of the background stuff in here. And then from here, after this level stretch, I went and did Noise Exterminator, because let me show you just how noisy. You can see there's a lot of noise in this image, and watch what happens when I use the Noise Exterminator. It really took that out and smoothed it out. Can you guys see that in the video? Really took out that noise. Noise Exterminator is awesome. So now that we've got that done, what I did was I kind of wanted to level out the background a little bit, so I just leveled out using levels, images here, came up and just used this dark slider to kind of level out the darkness a little bit and make it a little blacker. You can see the huge difference before and after. Now, next thing I want to do, I want to target some of this faint stuff around here, around the actual nebula itself. So I did a selective curves where I went in and selected points that I wanted to stretched them, and then selected points I didn't want to stretch. And you can see that really brought out everything except the core. Everything around the core, I didn't want to stretch that, and I didn't want to stretch the background, the black, so much. But once I've done that, you can start to see this background dust a whole lot more in here. You can start to see all this faint stuff in here and everything around here as well. Let's zoom in and let me show you guys just what that did to it. It did stretch the stars a little bit, but that's okay. No worries, not too much. So that looks really awesome. That's important to do. You want to get some of those faint fuzzies back in here and all this stuff that's hard to see. So just doing that, I went up here into adjustments, curves, and I used the hand tool here, and I just picked points, and you can see that's your white point up there. And I just picked points on the map. That's the darker point. And then I picked areas like here, and you can see areas like here. And I just went ahead and kind of stretched those areas ever so slightly. You could see what happens when you do that, but you got to be careful playing with this. You don't want to make it look too unnatural, and you don't want to overdo it. So that's what I did here and selected curves. And then I went ahead and bumped up the vibrance a little bit. I did a little saturation and vibrance just to bring out a little bit more of that color and see what I'm working with, where I was. It's very so slight, but it is there. And then next thing, I created a layer, just a basic layer, and I didn't do anything in this layer. I used it for kind of a little vibrance on areas around here. Surrounding areas is what I use this for. I wanted to try to bring out some of these surrounding areas around here, some of that darker dust. So I just did that as well. And then I created a new layer. This is kind of a nothing layer, just created a stamp down of everything previously. And then now I noticed there was some kind of gradients going on in here, and the image wasn't really balanced, so I did a gradient exterminator, and you can see what that did. That just balanced out the image, and all the light is much more balanced throughout the image. So that's gradient exterminator, and I just used a medium there on that. And then from here I went up into, and I did some raw camera tweaks, just some slight tweaks, just to try to do a few things that I thought messing with the sliders made it look a little better. This is user, up to you, the user, what you want to do. You don't have to do everything that I'm doing in this video. I'm just showing you things that you can do up here using the raw camera filter. This is an awesome tool to use. Just be real careful with it. Use small increments, and you know, it's what looks good to you. Really, that's what it comes down to, is what looks good to your eye and what you want to touch. You can use the clarity, the texture, the vibrance, the saturation, the shadows. You can adjust many things in here. So that's what I did. I just adjusted a few things in there to make it look a little better. And then I went ahead and did noise exterminator on this image. A very slight bit of noise, maybe around a 50, just to touch up any remaining noise in the image from anything before. And then up here, what I did was I did some highlights, and you'll see in the image I stretched out some of this faint stuff. I just brightened some of this faint stuff around here so it's more visible. And this is really up to you, and I have the opacity at 80 here. I didn't use it at 100. I ended up not going with 100. I lowered it down because it was too high. And this is something you can play with the slider here. If you don't like what you've done, you can always adjust it. And to do this, what I did was come over here into color range, and I went into highlights, and I just adjust these sliders to the amount that I wanted to get. And then once you hit OK, you can go ahead and you can just adjust. You can create a layer, and you can adjust the brightness to that. And that's kind of what I did here, was I just adjusted the highlights to bring out some of that and make it a little brighter. And then after that, I went and did a little more saturation. I did Sat 13 and Vibe 13, and you can just see it really brought out, made those colors pop and brought out really more. And I just used this up here in images, vibrance, saturation. I did vibrance, Sat 13 and vibrance 34 there. So now that's done. I went and did kind of some final tweaks that I thought were necessary. Again, I used the raw camera. I added some clarity and a little texture into there, and it's really, again, this is what you like to your eye. It's kind of not really hard to see, but I just bumped up the texture and clarity just a touch bit in there. And now after that, I created a new stamped down layer. This is just a blank layer of everything that was done previously. It's a stamped down. Now I'm going to show you guys how to blend in our core, because you can see we've got a blown out core here. We want to adjust that, and so we can see the trapezium in there. So again, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come over here to this image, and you're going to want to hit Control All, and that's going to select the image. Control C will copy it, and from here come back over into here, and let me just show you what to do next. So now on this stamp down layer, this nothing layer, I'm going to hit Control V, and that's going to put in our image in here. And if I zoom in just a little bit, what you're going to want to do is make sure you're on this layer, click a move button, and you're going to want to move it down to right around here, and then change the opacity down to about 50. Keep it around 50, and you can zoom in just a touch more in here, and you can use this move tool, and you can move the image. You're going to want to blend it in with the stars, the same stars. Now how do you do this? Come over here into Edit, and if you come down to your free transform, it's going to allow you to move everything how you need to. And then what you can do is click up here in the move, and you can move it, and you're going to want to try to get everything matched up, all these stars matched up properly. That's going to be really important. Come back here into Edit, Free Transform, and you're going to want to rotate and get everything matched up as much as possible. You got to really work at this, and you can stretch these a little bit here if you need to. You can come over here, click on this box, and move things this way. You can come here and click and go do things this way, and you're going to want to get those stars as close as possible matched up with the other stars. Now once you've done this, let me show you what's going to happen. Once you've done this, I've already done that, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to delete that because I already have a layer here. This is mine, and if I click on it, you can see I've already gone ahead and matched it in there. And if I turn the opacity down, let's see, oops, I'm on this one. Oop, we don't want to come down here. I want to do the one above it. So this is my blend image. If I turn the opacity down, you can see I've already got the stars matched up. Not perfect, but I'm only going to be using this area. So this is what's more important, is this area in here, getting these stars matched. So now that I've done that, I'm going to turn this back up to 100. Let's zoom back out here. And now here's a really important part. Turn this layer off. Come back down here to this layer, right click, duplicate the layer, click OK. It's going to give you this. You're going to put this above that blend image. You're going to put this above the image you want to blend. This is important. Alright, so now you can turn this back on. Make sure you're clicked on this layer, and now we're going to add in a mask. So come down here, click on the mask button. It's going to create a mask. Alright, so I've already done this, and let me just show you. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this, guys, because I've already got one here. I'm going to turn this on, and here is my mask, and you can see I've already blended it in. I've already blended it in to how much I like. And if I turn this off and on, this image down here, if I turn it off and on, you can see there's after, here's before, blown out core before, and here is after. Now how did I do this? Well, let me show you how I did this, guys. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete what I've got here. Delete this mask. You don't have to do this. I'm going to show you. So again, I've taken this layer from down here, duplicated it, and I put it above the blend. Alright, now again, make sure you align this to the stars in here. This is important. Make sure it's clicked on, then move the opacity to 100. You got your layer above here. Alright, let's create the mask. So now I've got a mask. Alright, so I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so you can see what's going on. So I've got this mask. It's clicked on. Now we're going to click on paintbrush over here. And I've got mine to around 100, and I've got it a nice soft round brush. Normal blend mode. Opacity is around 35. You can go a little lower if you want. Flow is at 36. You could always go just a touch lower. Smoothing at 87. And what's important is down here, making sure you have black, here on top and white on the bottom. So black here on top, white on the bottom. Clicked on the paintbrush, everything up here, settings, and I'm clicked on the mask, and I'm going to go right around here, and I'm just going to start to click, one click. We can already start to see the trapezium showing up from this blend image. So another click, boom. There is the trapezium again. And if I do it again, now you can start to really see what's going on here. And this is where you have to be careful. You really want to blend it in enough to where you don't darken this image too much. You don't want to darken this area too much. You want to match this area, but we want to see the trapezium. So there it is again. Now I've got the trapezium, and let's just zoom out and let's show you what that looks like zoomed out. So it's still a little bit of bright in there, but if we zoom in, we've got the trapezium. Now what you can also do is you can start to, let's come back in here, click on the paintbrush again, and if I start to click these areas here, you can see what happens. It starts to really show that core area, and if you overdo it, it's going to look terrible. So be careful here. Something like this is about as far as you want to go. That's really as much as you want to do. You don't want to over darken that area. It's going to look absolutely terrible. If you do, it just won't look natural. You have brightness in here naturally, but now we can see the trapezium area in here and some of the surrounding nebulosity and nebula areas in here. This is going to be up to your taste, guys, how much you want to do. But again, be real careful. If you get to a point where you don't like what you've done, just delete this mask down here. Take it and delete it. Create a new one and restart over. Again, these paintbrush settings, you can come up here. You can lessen this a little bit if you need to, down to 30. The flow a little bit less if you need to, down to 30. And just tinker with it and give it a shot and see what looks good to your eye, what you like. Again, this is processing how you want to do it, but this is what I've done. This is a really easy method to get the core in your images. And for this video, this is the image that I created for you guys, just so you could get an idea of things to do. Now you can really see this black dust, this brown dark dust in here. I didn't focus on that because I didn't use an H-alpha filter, but we can still see a lot of it in here. It's all over. But this is an image that you can get with just simple curves, adjusting using the arc sine curves, and a few of the tools that I showed you. Now I'm going to show you guys my finished image. It took me a few days because I really worked on it and I really tinkered with it. But this is M42, and this is what you can get. You don't have to do all the steps I did, but it's just going to show you how to bring out some of these. If you like a more natural M42, you can lessen some of these steps or lower them, or do a lot less. You don't have to do what I did. Again, there's many ways to process M42. This is how I did it. Now let me show you guys what I was able to do, my finished image, and here's what I got.